There are large unanswered questions in the market today. What will interest rates be? When will the Fed actually move? What will China's growth rate ultimately be? Will there be inflation? If there is inflation, what will the impact? Is there asset price bubbles? How are they going to resolve themselves? And those issues are going to create volatility as they become resolved and or they actually become more acute. So I don't expect volatility to actually taper. I expect there to be periods of volatility as those risks come to the surface, and that's going to make investing more challenging. Some of the things that drive our business actually are not the general economics of the world, but rather investment opportunities, changes in the world. And so we have to be quite adaptable if we're going to be effective and successful. The change in the retirement world in the last 15 years is a key issue. Just talking about the United States for the minute, which is obviously a very large market, I think there's not enough debate, put it that way, around the challenges for retirement. We've seen many, many examples of companies freezing, ending, stopping to actually contribute to defined benefit plans. We sort of take that as a given. But what does the 25-year-old or 35-year-old or even 40-year-old do when they retire 20, 30 years from now? And what is the way in which they're going to be able to survive via their retirement income? We have to have a big conversation in this country around retirement. We as AB see that as a very significant opportunity. So we have developed investment strategies, investment products, and frankly, education to try to get people to save more and to invest in services that will grow and produce a retirement nest egg that could be sufficient for them to actually have enough money to live through the rest of their lives. Technology is going to be key in actually providing education, information, examples, and projecting to people in ways they can understand why they should change their behavior and save more. We actually need behavior modification. If people behave exactly the way they're behaving today, they won't save enough. How do you actually get them to change their behavior? You have to give them examples. You have to show them, if you did this, then this. If you do that, then this happens. That's not going to be easy to do via interpersonal relationships because there aren't enough people to provide that education. We're going to need a leverageable platform that people feel comfortable using, comfortable interacting on, and comfortable learning from. Technology is key to that. There's an interesting debate around active and passive investing, and that clearly occupies a lot of our time. We think there's definitely a role for passive investing. We also think there's definitely a role for active investing. So we spend a lot of time with our clients trying to help them understand and navigate the promise of low-cost, safe, passive investing versus higher-cost active investing and why mixing the two makes sense, where it makes sense and where it doesn't make sense. So in addressing this active-passive contradiction, in particular in the equity side of the business, we've really focused on our long-term core strengths, which is high-conviction investing, and in constraining the capacity that those investors actually utilize. Capacity meaning how much money do they manage. It's not unlimited. The more money they manage, the more challenging it is to actually produce those high conviction returns. Since the high conviction returns are what investors pay for and is the value proposition that we promise investors, it's important for us to understand what are those capacities and how to actually maintain that balance. Therefore, if we want to grow and we want to constrict capacity, we want a greater diversity of products, because that allows us to grow and to provide clients with more solutions. When you talk about business purpose and what's unique or differentiated, you're really talking about culture. All organizations have a culture. One differentiating factor is how much time do organizations talk about their culture, reinforce their culture, nourish their culture. Cultures don't grow all by themselves. In fact, if you do nothing for them, they probably languish and fray at the edges. But culture is critical because culture really defines behavior. How do we treat each other? And behavior defines how we actually produce a value proposition for clients. And at the end of the day, we are here for clients. What we do is for our clients. So we talk about an aspiration of providing clients an environment that is ahead of tomorrow. Now, we know we can't always be ahead of tomorrow because that's perfect foresight. That's impossible. But we can have that aspiration. To have that aspiration, we think we need to be more collaborative and effective in sharing insights, because insights are what actually get us that collaboration. We get that collaboration we get to that point by actually with behaviors that we call relentless ingenuity, teamwork, and accountability. Those 4 behaviors get us to collaboration, which gets us to better insights, which gets us to ahead of tomorrow. Inside of our organization, a group of people came to me last month or a few months ago and said, we have an idea, we have an innovation idea, we have a way to actually capture ideas, to effectively crowdsource within AB. Use the research, use the insights, use the power of the organization to capture innovative ideas, vet them, process them, and then decide whether we want to look at them in depth, and then look at them in depth, and then decide whether we want to invest in them, build them, or buy them. And that is what we call AB Labs. That's been very, very successful, although for a short period of time. It has, in fact, acted as a crowdsourcing mechanism where we're able to have people up and down the organization identify ideas. It has enabled us to actually get inside buy-in, which is critical to disruptive technologies. If you come up with a disruptive idea and you go to an organization and say, here's my idea, I want you to embrace it, or I'm going to force it on you, that's particularly difficult to do. If, in fact, the disruptive idea comes from within the organization, there's far more buy-in and far likelihood of success. What I do spend time doing is I do spend time talking to CEOs, other companies, venture capital investors, both in California and New York and Boston, on what it is that they are doing and why they're doing it and what makes sense to them. What's the commercial opportunity? What are the technologies? What are the engineering solutions? What are the things that people are trying to solve? That I can understand, and that I can use to actually impact how we run the company.